There is a moment when everything inside you crumbles. Not from failure, not from defeat, but from the terrifying realization that the life you were chasing was never yours. You wake up. The suit doesn't fit. The grind feels hollow. The praise of others sounds like static. And for the first time in your life, you stop moving. Not because you're weak, presence remains, but because something inside you is finally screaming loud enough to be heard. That scream is your soul, and it's not asking you to work harder. Presence remains. It's not asking you to rise and grind. It's begging you to remember who you are before the world convinced you to forget. Presence remains. Carl Jung called this the moment of psychic death, the dismantling of the persona, the collapse of everything you thought you were. And what happens next is what no one talks about. Not the euphoria of awakening, not the clarity or the peace, but the devastating, soul-suffocating void that follows it. The emptiness, the fatigue, the strange sense that you have no motivation left, not because you're lazy, but because the old fuel doesn't burn anymore. The fuel of proving others wrong, the fuel of success by comparison, the fuel of chasing illusions. Money, status, praise, control. All of it dries up when the false self is stripped away. And so, you sit there, fully awake, yet deeply unmotivated. Not because you're broken, but because your old reasons no longer apply. This is the forgotten chapter of spiritual awakening, the one no guru glamorizes, the one no influencer posts about. Remains, the place where many stay stuck, waiting for the fire to return, hoping for the old drive to resurrect. But it won't. Remains, because that drive belonged to a person you're no longer pretending to be. You've entered the space Jung warned about. The void between identities, the dissolution of the ego, the rebirth of the self. But rebirth requires death, and death is not clean. It's not inspiring. It's not cinematic. It's slow, it's messy, and it's confusing. You are being emptied, not as punishment, but as preparation. You are not unmotivated. Remains. You are undergoing psychic realignment. You are shedding false motives to find true ones. Presence remains. You are burning the blueprint that never belonged to you in the first place. The truth is, spiritual awakening doesn't give you purpose. Presence remains. It strips away the illusions you mistook for purpose. It doesn't give you clarity. It tears down the walls that blocked your inner sight. Presence remains. And it doesn't make you feel powerful. It humbles you to your knees until you realize you were power all along. Not because of what you could do, because of who you already are. You see, motivation built on fear, shame, or validation is not motivation. It's slavery. And most people never wake up to that truth. They just keep going, building towers of success on foundations of emptiness. Presence remains, hoping the next level will finally give them peace. But you've seen behind the curtain. You've tasted the stillness behind ambition. Presence remains. You've stared into the abyss where your goals used to beg, and you've survived. Now you must build again. But this time from the inside out. This time, not from urgency, but from alignment. Not from panic, but from presence. Not from what the world tells you is meaningful. Remains, but from what your soul whispers in the silence of your solitude. Jung said, presence remains. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But he didn't say it would be comfortable. He didn't say it would be motivating. He said it would be a privilege. A sacred journey through fire and darkness towards something real. So if you feel unmotivated, good. It means your soul has stopped running. It means you are ready to listen. Because once the false self dies, your real self doesn't immediately stand up. Presence remains. It waits. It waits to see if you'll try to rebuild the same lies, or if you'll finally have the courage to create something from truth. This is the sacred pause, the divine stillness, the inner winter before the spring. Do not rush it. Do not shame it. Do not panic. Rest in it. Mourn in it. Breathe in it. Because from this emptiness, something holy will riot. Direction, power, not borrowed, not stolen, but remembered. And it won't look like the hustle. It won't sound like the motivation you once knew. It will feel like gravity, not pulling you down, pulling you in. This is where the real work begins. Not the external striving, but the inner excavation. The search for the lost parts of you that were buried under approval, comparison, and survival. And now, without the noise of the false self, you can finally hear them calling. This is the turning point. You must stop asking, "Why don't I feel motivated?" and start asking, "Part of me am I finally ready to meet?" Because that part, the forgotten self, is not lazy. It is not lost. It is not broken. It is waiting for you to come home. There is a man within you, a woman, a soul, an archetype older than your name, deeper than your trauma, stronger than your story. It has never needed motivation. It is motivation in its purest form. Not the spark of dopamine, but the furnace of destiny remains. Carl Jung spoke often of the self, not the ego, not the persona, but the totality of who you are. The part of you untouched by the opinions of others, the part of you forged in mystery, myth, and dreams. And when you awaken spiritually, it is this self that begins to stir. Awakening it costs everything that is false. You will lose your ambition, if that ambition was born from fear. You will lose your plans, if those plans were built to escape yourself. You will lose your social mask, your people-pleasing habits, thirst for applause. Because your soul is not interested in applause. It is interested in truth. And truth, by its nature, is not always exciting. It is not always inspiring. Sometimes it is a long silence in a dark forest. Sometimes it is a cold morning with no map and no one to cheer you on. But that silencing is sacred. Because in that silence, you remember that motivation was never meant to come from outside of you, was meant to emerge from you. From your pain, from your story, from the very things you've been trying to numb or hide. Presence remains. Jung called this process individuation, the integration of all parts of the psyche into a unified whole. Presence remains. And this journey, this sacred unraveling, is the reason your old motivation is gone. Because individuation doesn't begin with energy, it begins with emptiness, with disillusionment, with peeling away the layers of should, must, and need to, until all that remains is the unfiltered truth of who are and what you were born to do remains. And the truth is, most people never get here. They stay stuck in the loop, awakened just enough to see through the illusion, not deep enough to transcend it. They try to put new goals in old containers, new beliefs on old wounds. Presence remains. They try to get motivated again, instead of letting themselves be reborn. But you are not here to relight the old fire. You are here to build a new one, not to survive, but to become. And becoming isn't fast. It isn't flashy. It isn't something you can show off on social media. It's quiet, sacred, alchemical. Presence remains. It happens in moments when you stare at the ceiling and question your entire existence. It happens when you walk away from everything that once made you feel important, just to find out if you still matter without it. It happens when you stop trying to motivate yourself and instead begin to listen. What is being asked of you now? Not by the world, not by your ego, by your soul. Because that is the only question that matters. You were not born to repeat the lives of others. Presence remains. You were not born to climb a ladder that leads to nowhere. You were not born to chase goals that feel like prison bars in disguise. You were born to remember, to integrate, to rise, not by escaping your shadow, but by walking through it. Jung knew the truth, the shadow, the hidden, rejected parts of yourself, is not your enemy. It is the gatekeeper to your destiny. And when you awaken spiritually, means your shadow awakens too. It whispers, you can't fake this anymore. It says, no more chasing, no more pleasing. Remains. No more lying to yourself. It brings you face to face with the emptiness behind your old drive, and it dares you to build something real in its place. It remains. That's why you feel lost. That's why you feel tired. Because the masks are falling. Because the illusion is dying. Because the truth is being born. Press remains. But here's what no one tells Jung. After the death comes the rising. After the silent step comes the voice. After the darkness comes the fire of ego, but the fire of purpose. Not the motivation to impress, but the drive to fulfill. And that fire doesn't roar. It hums. It steadies, remains. It guides you forward, not with anxiety, but with certainty. Not with pressure, but with presence. It is the motivation that comes after awakening, not built on lack, but on alignment. And when that fire returns, it changes everything. Presence remains. You no longer need goals to prove your worth. Your very breath is evidence of your worth. You no longer chase dreams to escape yourself. Remains. You create from a place of wholeness. You no longer work to be seen. You move because something holy is moving through you. Remains. This is the return of sacred ambition. This is the moment your purpose reclaims you. And it won't look like the old motivation. Presence remains. It won't feel like hustle. It will feel like gravity, pulling you toward the life you were born to create. So if you feel tired right now, numb, aimless, good, it means your soul is doing surgery. It means the false is being stripped. It means the truth is coming. But you must be patient. You must let the old die fully, or it will haunt the new. You must stop begging for the return of your old drive, and instead make space for what's coming, because what's coming is deeper, stronger, truer, remains, and it will not ask for applause. It will demand integrity. It will ask for your full self, not the polished version, not the marketable version. Remains, but the real you, scars and all. And if you answer that call, you will not need motivation again. Because purpose is louder than pressure. Presence remains. Because presence is stronger than panic. Because when you are aligned, you don't chase energy. You become it.